Hey guys, it's Charisse. Please get your answers to me for your questions. So sometimes I put up sayings. Whatever you do, is it necessary, truthful, and kind? Today we'll be talking about an introduction, but critical thinking, which is looking at all sides and forming your own opinion because it matters. Art can be in the context of sense of place. You know, if you're from New Orleans, you don't just tell people where you're from. You don't say, I'm from New Orleans. You tell them your neighborhood, sense of place. Time, the time period in which they made the art. The influence, depending on where you live, what materials you have, who you're around. Sometimes it can be for a historical record before the photograph. We've been dependent on paintings and cave drawings and all of that. Ritual and culture. Answers to questions are due before 11 a.m. every Thursday, every week. New question. This counts as attendance, homework, and part of your exam grades. If you're not counting as attending, you can lose your financial aid. Please text me or Moodle your answer with your name every week to me. Last week's question was, where is art? This week, what is art? Answers can be one word or a sentence. That's it. So here's our intro. I'm going to show you things I like and don't like. And you can't see my face right now because if you see my face, you'll know what I like and don't like because I cannot lie. But anyway, I want you to form your own opinion that is informed. What is the purpose of this work of art? What does it mean? What is my reaction and why? How do the formal qualities affect my reaction? Appreciating art goes beyond the visual. You must understand why and how the work has become. We'll explore the artist's creative process, artist's compromise. Sometimes the way the things are in an artist's head do not produce the same result, and they must solve problems. They must be open to new ways of seeing. And in this course, I hope that you guys will be. So, everyone can learn from studying the creative process. Portraits are a long-standing tradition in art. Until the photograph, they were drawn, painted, sculpted to preserve the likeness of a human being. Leonardo da Vinci's The Mona Lisa is one of the most recognized portraits. It portrays the westernized version of beauty from the Renaissance. Time, place. Kenyan woman portrays another culture's ideal of beauty. Pat. Their casting of people who make their portraiture recognizable to the people who know the person. So if you knew Pat and you walked into a gallery and saw us on the wall, I'd be like, I know her. They were recently shown in New Orleans before this crap hit. And I actually got to see their work in person. Picasso, Seated Bather, a painting of the female form. These guys make me happy. Artists can give physical forms to the non-tangible, such as feelings, the spiritual, or truths. Magical figure. These figures showed the tribe's resistance to European colonization from the Congo in Central Africa. Sorry guys. Powers stem from communication with the dead. The Niskinande are made with nails, blades, etc. to punish wrongdoers. These figures are standing and usually have a hand raised ready to attack. Anna Menendita site-specific, documented through photography. She transfers her silhouette into her own body into the landscape. So here is a particularly bloody border crossing in Mexico. So we will see a lot of this again. I'm just kind of giving y'all an overview of like just what art can be, because it's everything. Just gave you the answer. Frida Kahlo, self-portrait, deals with inner pain and struggles. Artists help us see the world in new or innovative ways. It can alter our sense of space with installation art, etc. Artists make a visual record of their time and place. They're recording what they see. Now this looks like no big deal, right? Okay. This example of installation art consists of a room. The ceiling, the floor, and wall are covered with mirrors that reflect LED lights suspended in space from the string. So you walk into this room, only one person at a time is allowed in. You can kind of see a figure in there. And then all of a sudden you're like in outer space because the door shuts. It's all dark except for these twinkly lights and mirrors everywhere. So there's no end. It's endless. It's the universe. A Zen garden. Seeing is both a physical and psychological process. It's also creative. It's the individual's perception of the world. 3 flags. John says the flag was something seen but not looked at or examined. He made this at a time when patriotism was rampant. So, this is the McCarthy era. A lot of times we don't notice that there's flags on schools or post office or many libraries, and we don't notice them till they're half-mast, and we go by them all the time. Here's another version. Faith Ringgold. Now this looks like a very simple painting, right? God Bless America has the civil rights movement as its historical context. The stripes on the flag represent prison bars and a white woman prisoner to her own bigotry. The star that she touches as she pledges allegiance represents a sheriff's badge because the legal system was responsible for the atrocities against African Americans. Flags speak of national pride and identity. This was 1964. It could be made today. He used ant farms to assault nationalism. 36 plastic boxes are filled with colored sand to represent the flags of the 36 countries of the Americas. These boxes are connected by plastic tubing and filled with ants. The ants then carry the sand from different flags to each other. Now there's a cross-cultural network. Does this piece make you think or feel? What about multiculturalism? So if you can see the little cracks in some of the flags, that's the ants going around and taking the sand and go on, and they're crossing borders freely. Ta-da! So there are I'm going to show you 3 paintings. There's similarities in the 3 paintings, but none of these images are wrong in the artist's sense of view. And we'll see these again, but they're all made in a different place and a different time. Visual literacy, learning how to read a picture. The Treason of Images. This painting offers a lesson in visual literacy. It's a representation of a pipe. This painting invites us to think critically about the representations that bombard us daily. So in French, this says, "This is not a pipe." And everybody says, "What?" It's not a pipe. It's a painting of a pipe. Because you can't put shit and smoke it. Excuse me, I told y'all I curse. All right. So this is part of the Dada anti-art movement. We'll get into that later. In this course, you will develop a vocabulary that helps you describe why you do or do not like a work of art. She, consistently challenges the relations between words and images. Simpson says black women in America are treated by society as if they're faceless. She challenges gender stereotypes. The subject matter, what the image literally depicts, barely hints at its complexity or what the image means. So this is made in 92. Again, 30 years later, where are we? Sharon Nishat. Nishat's Rebellious Silence from the series Women of Allah. She portrays herself as a Muslim woman dressed in the black chador, and a rifle divides her face. She's written a poem by an Iranian female poet and explains by wearing the chador, it conceals a woman's sexuality, therefore preventing her from becoming a sexual object. It also agrees with the rejection of Western dress. For viewers who cannot understand the poem, it is perceived differently. The gun symbolizes the division between the East and West ideologies. In Islamic culture, the words, not the image, would take precedence because calligraphy is a main form of Islamic art. This emphasis on calligraphy derives from the heart of Islamic culture, lies in the trust of the word over image. Vocabulary is your basic set of terms where you can begin to talk or write about art. So representation resembles the eye sees, realism. We'll get into that later. Now, this guy says this is the Rocky Mountains. And who are we to argue? Well, he never left the Alps. He never came over, saw the Rocky Mountains. He made up the teepees and the cows and everything. This is actually really a painting of the Alps, but he's telling us the Rocky Mountains. Well, how are we to know that he's a liar? It's realistic. Landscape. This is more abstract than Bierstadt. Toyo, a Zen Buddhist, relied on intuition and personal feeling, not intellectual reasoning. Habuko means broken ink. This casual application refers to his intuition technique, but we can still read this as a landscape. Culture affects each artist. This is a coffin, and he makes coffins for his fellow villagers as well as the art market. So, you know, art is everything. This is an Aboriginist artist, and it's considered abstract. Here we have polychromatic multicolor, and this is her influence is Brazilian culture, which affects her color choices. She says, I'm interested in conflict, and the moment you have one more color, you start the conflict. Iconography is a system of images whose meaning is widely understood by a culture or group. So here is the Buddha, and the symbolic hand gestures refer to general states of mind and to specific events in Buddha's life. So yeah, sometimes we see him, you know, happy and jolly, and sometimes we see him like this. It's just the different stages of his life. Stieglitz was one of the first promoters of photography as art. Here his composition has all the essential elements: light, shadow, line, direction, but it also captures a moment of other conflicts and contrasts. We'll see this again, but it directs your eye all the way around, and we almost don't see the people. We see these lines that go down and across and up and back. Edward Hopper's The Nighthawks. A master of light and shadow and realism, captures again a moment in time. This spoke of the transformation of Paris and modernity itself, Industrial Revolution. Artists can help drive causes in which they believe in, as we saw with Nishat and Simpson. They can be politically driven. We see essential nationality driving, liberally leading the people. He painted this to keep the spirit of the French Revolution alive. Well, they weren't doing so well. Obviously, they're dead. And she's like, Viva la France with, her tatas hanging out or whatever. And yeah, so this was actually um, the government would, trying to put out some kind of false narrative. All right, Fountain. Father of Dada, the anti-art movement, he began his ready-mades or found art in which an ordinary or everyday object could be made into art. Yep, he took a urinal, turned it on its side, signed it with an unknown name, and declared it art, and it was groundbreaking. And 100+ years later, everybody's still trying to explain this, but nobody's going to drink out of a urinal, I hope. And look, that blue thing in there is not a breath mint, y'all, all right? Okay, so this is one of the consignments of the WPA in a politically driven mural depicting the atrocities brought on the people by the government. An artist has an innate need to make art, whether it be politically, emotionally, psychologically, or cause driven. They must make art for their own survival, not as a means, as a way to put food on the table, but as the air they breathe. This is meaning of a work in art can be lost over time. Van Eyck's wedding portrait, the green dress was typical of the time and represented fertility. She's not pregnant. Her stomach was convention of female beauty. The groom's shoes are off. That refers to the Bible. The dog represents loyalty. The touching of hands is a mutual agreement to wed. This is why I like this one. Over a small mirror in the back, he pretty much tagged Van Eyck was here and reflected is the artist himself. And it's teeny, teeny, tiny. Basquiat, Charles I. He uses iconographic systems, both of his own and others' making. The graffiti artist is paying homage to Charlie Bird Parker. If you don't know who that is, he was a jazz musician. Central to his personal iconography is the crown, and heroic African Americans are the theme of his work. He also uses hobo signs. His paintings are full of private and ambiguous iconography. All right. Peace, y'all. Give me your answers before Thursday. Thank you.